So I was not rebellious growing up. I had a very, very religious mother. And I went to a little college called Oral Roberts University. My kind of people! Yes, I went to Oral Roberts University. And every summer I would come home to Northwest Chicago, and I would spend the summers there. And I would always go to the same temp agency because I'm responsible. And my temp agency was called Working World, and I just love that one because it was so optimistic of like productivity and it's for the world, you know, like no experience, Working World. You failed your drug screening, who hasn't? Working World, you know. So I would go there. And they gave everyone the same job, which is like working in a factory warehouse for 60 hours a week. But I would do that. And so I went back this one summer, and they called me up, and they're like, Leslie, you're not going to believe the job we have for you. And they go, do you know anything about law? And I was a music major at the time. So this was my moment where I was like, I don't want to work in the factory again. And so I was like, oh, of course. Well, I mean, I know a little. And they're like, oh, perfect. You just need a little bit of law. So they give me this address in the name of this law firm. And I was like, how hard can it be? So the next morning, I go to this totally generic looking office building, which is like in front of a Best Buy. So I was like, this is legit. And I go in there. I open the door. And the office, it's about as big as this room. And there's just one guy in there. And he's just sitting over his desk, and he's just going like this. And he looks exactly like Paul Giamatti, and he's physicalizing every like sad bastard Paul Giamatti character in the history of the world. And he's just sitting there. I was like, okay. So I close the door, and Paul Giamatti kind of snaps out of me. He's like, oh, I can't do a Paul Giamatti. Like, I'm Merlot. I don't know how he sounds. So he's like, oh, you must be the new temp. He's like, hi, my name's Brent. And I was like, hi, I'm Leslie. He's like, all right, let's get you started. So he leaves me at this desk in the middle of the room, and he just sets down this huge stack of papers, but it's the kind of like computer paper where it gets printed out where it's like perforated, and it automatically folds back and forth, and it's like this thick. And he's like, so you're gonna call the names and the numbers, and you set up the appointments, and then you tell me about the appointments. And Paul Giamatti like starts shuffling back, and I was like, well, what am I setting up appointments for? He's like, well, you know, international trade shipping compliance laws of exporting and importing in international seas. And I was like, this might have been a bad choice, you know? I was like, oh, I know music notes. And so I was like, oh, okay. He's like, just ask for the shipping manager. So all I got from Paul Giamatti is like tax laws. So I start going down this list, and I ask for the shipping managers, and once I get the shipping managers, I just say, would you like to talk to somebody about tax laws? And before they can get to the end of like, what the fuck? Like I say, thank you for your time, we'll be in touch. So I say that part real loud, so Paul Giamatti's like, she's doing good. So I'm doing this for like an hour, just getting hung up on. And all of a sudden the door opens, and in comes like this huge like Italian stallion man. If he was like on Angry Roids, except he wore Bermuda shorts and sandals. And he comes in, and he goes by Paul Giamatti's office, and he's like, hey, Easter Island, remind me to tell you about this girl I fucked at Hooters. Yeah! And he just goes to the back room and shuts the door. And again, I'm like, bad choice saying you know law. And I get to my next call, and Italian Stallion comes back out, and he just stands by my desk, and I'm finishing my call, and I'm like, thank you very much, we'll be in touch. And he goes, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, Brent told me. He's like, don't listen to Easter Island, he's fucking useless. And so then he goes into this long explanation about like how to get clients, and actually for like a crude guy, it's this really great like plan, and I'm just taking it in. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, you got that? Fucking Easter Island. And Brent's in there, and he finally goes, stop calling me Easter Island, we've talked about that. And Italian Stallion looks at me, and he's like, you know why I call him Easter Island? Look at his head. He has a giant fucking head. You know why he has headaches all the time? He's got to carry that big fucking head all around. So, okay, he's like, and then he takes out his wallet. He takes out a $50 bill, and he tacks it on my bulletin board. He goes, for every appointment you make, you get $50 bills cash. You got it? Fucking Easter Island. And he goes back in his room. Side note, the power of incentive. So I didn't make just one appointment, didn't make 2, didn't make 3. I made 6, and I'm sitting there with just $300 cash by lunchtime. And so Italian Stallion comes back out and he's like about to take another 50, and I'm like, yes, I like, this was great to lie. And then he's like, why don't you fucking do your goddamn job like you're supposed to? And he puts his money back and he goes back. It's like, oh, this isn't so bad. So the next day, I guess like we're all friends now, and he's really comfortable with me, and I come into the office and I just hear, little boy, little boy. And Brent's like, that's you. So I go to the back room, and Italian Stallion's there, and he was like, little boy, you know why I call you little boy? Because you look like a little boy. You're probably a lesbian, are you? Do you eat pussy? I'm like, Oral Roberts University, how do I respond? He's like, you're taking too long. Go order lunch. That's all he says whenever he can't think of it. Go order lunch. So I go out. I don't even know why he called me back there. And then I guess that was bonding. So I do some more calls. And then like he starts doing more things, like he shows me his favorite cinema, and he'll call me into Brent's office and, little boy, come in here. And I go in there and he says, do you like animals? This is my favorite video. It's hilarious. And like he'll push play, and it's a horse on its hind legs with its hooves on the wall, and its hooves are on the wall because it's fucking a woman. Oh my God. And Brent's just sitting there and he goes, please, his name's Mike, the guy's Italian Stallion is Mike. He's like, please Mike, he's like, I don't want another virus, I don't want another virus. He's like, that's all, little boy, go back to work. And so these are how our days go. And then one day he calls me back again, little boy. And he goes, you're a leslie, right? I bet you got some hot single friends. We need some more help around here. And I was like, what kind of people? Like, which of my friends would I subject to this? So I bring my best friend.